You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who have been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com, and then definitely follow them on Instagram for all the information that you need, because I'm sure that's where you follow us as well, at oklahomahof. Let's get into today's episode.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode up in Stillwater today. We are at Casting Creek, the home of Oklahoma State golf. If you haven't been here, it's worth coming for lunch. It's worth walking down the halls and seeing the amazing accomplishments of this program. And we're going to talk about those accomplishments today with Mr. Jonathan Moore, the strength and conditioning coach for the teams. Mate, thanks so much for joining me.
It's great to be here.
Thanks for having me here. Excited to dive into your story. It's a story. I just said to you, I listened to Coach McGraw's podcast with you, which for everyone listening, it's totally worth going to. I'll link that in the description, and you can kind of listen to your you can definitely tell your relationship with Coach in that podcast. It's awesome to listen to, so I'll link that below. But I guess tell me about kind of current life at the moment. What's it like? We're coming at the back of a COVID season with two teams that are, at the top of D1 golf. The girls are kind of competing a lot, competing with the guys' reputation now, which is great to see. So what's it like at the moment?
Man, I'm really blessed. I get to be around excellence every single day. I really do. Especially on the men's side, right? That's been a standard now for a long time. And just that consistency of always being up there at the top. I'm getting more of appreciation now as kind of from a coaching side, my fifth year as the strength and conditioning coach, of just what all goes into maintaining that type of a level for so many years. There's just there's a devotion, a commitment, a sacrifice that not just the players are making, but from the Travis Levings on the greens crew to Rob Land, who's kind of running operations, to Ross, who's taking care of the kitchen, and Mike Holder, our golf coaches. It's a big deal what people are doing and with their lives to try to make this successful. So it's fun for me to get to be around. It's inspiring. It's challenging. So it makes my days exciting. Yeah,
no doubt. And it's great to, with the history that you have with the program, obviously playing here, winning an individual national title and a team title, it's there's not many people that can say that. But to be involved with the program and have the history that you have, one of the things that when I listened to that podcast with McGraw that I could figure out was, a lot of coaches come in and they haven't done it right. They just they're good coaches, but they haven't been there. They haven't had that putt for national championship. They haven't had the shaky knees, or I think like you said, you had to tell yourself to pull the putter back when you had the winning point in the Walker Cup, all of that stuff, and because they know that about you, it must. I as a player would think that it would be easier to speak to you about those situations, right? You can relate to the kids more, and that just makes you on a better level and on an even level to them as a coach, and without even opening your mouth, you have that respect, and and the fact that even if it was 15 years ago, they know that you played Walker Cup, you won a national championship, you played Eisenhower, that's a big deal to these kids, even if they're not from the States.
Yeah. It's thankfully our coaches, Alan Bratton and Donnie Darr, and on the women's side, Maddie and Greg. They really are about history, the history of the program. And so they do a good job of kind of not just my history with the program, but all the former players of kind of speaking to that. And so it does help, the players get a chance to hear kind of what my journey and my story's been like. But quickly that means something to them. But then I'll tell you what, it really comes down to, they got to know you care about them. That's first and foremost as a coach. They got to know that you care about them. And once you kind of earn their trust, and they know that you're there for them, and then it's fun what you get to start, getting parts of their lives you get to start getting involved in that. For me, I think you kind of asked, we were saying ahead of time, well, what is there any just kind of why you do what you do. I mean, that's why I do it. I mean, it's this is a vehicle for me to get to come alongside these young people and try to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, and I mean, you've had great mentors in your life and great coaches throughout that did the same for you, right? Yeah. So you kind of leading, you've seen firsthand what it was like to be in that seat as a student, going through whatever it is that, class schedule or girlfriends or a family stuff, whatever it is, like, on both sides now what that feels like. Yeah. But going all the way back, where does golf start for you? Where's that kind of first moment that someone puts a club in your hand and that you remember?
Yeah, I was, as a family, we started to kind of play a little bit. We joined a country club when I was about 6 years old in Vancouver, Washington. So very southern part of Washington State. And so that was kind of my first introduction to it. We'd go to the local driving range a little bit, and then my dad ended up joining a course. My dad's story in golf is kind of unique. Never played golf until he was 14. Damn. Was a pastor's son, and he was traveling up and down the West Coast taking different pastoral positions. Settled in Oregon, and they moved next to the best amateur and junior amateur in the state of Oregon, the Light family. And my dad, it was everything that he didn't get to do in his life, and so he started working at the course that they were members at, and just to get playing privileges. And my dad, he's just a special guy, and after a while, just kind of being around it and absorbing it and practicing as whatever way he could, he actually got a scholarship to play NAIA at Point Loma Nazarene College. Yeah. Played 2 years, realized getting into business is what he was going to do, and was done. But just pretty remarkable, right? And so in a lot of ways, my golf story goes back to just sort of just kind of the special person that he is. So in his mind, if he was going to have a kid that played golf, which really never set out for me to play golf, he wanted to give him a different opportunity than what he had, so it's a little bit that first, second, third generation, where, my grandfather did everything he could to set up my dad, and then my dad did everything he could to set up me, and I maybe was the one that kind of reaped some of the benefits, at least in the sport of golf from that, But we were a baseball family. That's what my brother was doing, and some people that have heard my story know that my brother passed away when he was 12 and I was 8, and about a week after my brother passed away, I'm playing baseball, throwing balls around, and I'm on second base, and I'd gotten a new mitt, and it hadn't quite loosened up enough yet, and I go to open it, and it comes right over the top, hits me in the nose, and just, my dad said he heard the pop from behind home plate. I mean, I still can only get about 10, I have like 90% blockage in one of my nostrils from that. And so a week later, after my brother passed away, we're in the same hospital with me now getting my nose messed on. And I told my dad as we were leaving the hospital, I said, Dad, I don't want to play baseball anymore. I said, that was Joel's deal. And he goes, well, okay, that's fine. And I told him, I said, I'd really like to play golf. And he goes, oh, perfect. So for us, golf was kind of how I started was unique, and it really was a blessing to my family. So just you get to spend a lot of time together, families, you did it. It takes an effort, not just from yourself, but that family. And so we got to spend a lot of time together because of that. And I think there was a lot of healing involved for my parents after losing my brother with that. And so it's a special deal, golf.
Yeah, it is, and you don't realize it when you're a kid and you're in it, right? You just think that dad or mom's driving you somewhere because that's just what you do, right? And then you get to 17, 18, 19, and you're off on your own, or you're driving your own places, and you're just like, oh, this is a little different now, right? Because you remember that, your dad or your mom would take you, to wherever, and those golf tournaments were, and they were all over the country, right? And it's, you at the time, like I say, you don't really realize it, and you don't have enough appreciation for it at the time. But looking back, you're like, I mean, that's it doesn't have to be golf, right? Like some of the sports that these kids play now, baseball, volleyball, whatever it is, like soccer. I mean, the schedule is chaos. There is no time off.
Right.
So it's parents are special for sure. Especially athletes, parents of athletes are definitely special.
We're getting into it a little bit now with my daughter. She's almost. I mean, she'll be 7 in May, so she's super young, but she's a good little gymnast, and she gets to do on a team, and they have a few competitions, and we're about to do our first out of town meet down in Norman this weekend, and but we're excited. It's just fun.
Super competitive.
It is, yeah. It's competitive. Right. I mean, they're but I had parents that thankfully were just amazing. They gave me every opportunity, never felt like I had to pay them back in any way or owed them anything. They were just kind of happy to be a part of it and support me in it. So I'm looking forward to doing that with my kids. Yeah,
no doubt. So you take to golf, you say to dad, I want to go for golf. And, in that kind of period, I guess you get stuck in. What was, I guess, the first, kind of big tournament that you were like, this has gone from just being a hobby now to, okay, I'm pretty good in my state, or region or whatever. Like, because when you're a kid, you play local tournaments, don't you, right? And then you think, someone who might have a son that's older than you, or a coach or whatever, might say, oh yeah, you should come to this tournament, right? Like, because the States is so big and there's amateur tournaments. I mean, we know all of them now, but when you're growing up and you're coming from a family that doesn't necessarily know or travel that much, I was the same way. Like, my parents, we didn't know anything about the golf schedule in Wales. We just played local stuff. Yeah. So what was the kind of like that first? Yeah, I know. I'm trying to remember how we kind of heard about some of these events to go to. But I was, I believe, 11 when I got a chance to play the Junior World for the first time. And I think I had to qualify for that. I think there was every year, and so that's probably how we heard about it. In Oregon Junior Golf, there was a qualifier. And so I qualified for it, and we went down to San Diego. My mom has family from that area, and so that was kind of fun for us to head down to San Diego. But, so that probably was kind of the start of sort of this. It's bigger than just the Pee Wee division in Oregon. I'll never forget, I met Matthew Rosenfeld for the first time there. And, not everyone knows the name of Matthew Rosenfeld because he's not winning on the PGA Tour. But from the age of 9 to probably 16, 17 years old, he was, in my age time, he was the best player by a long run. I mean, the amount of tournaments he won was unbelievable. So all of a sudden your eyes get open to things like that, and you start seeing, wow. And I was a dreamer. I mean, I was someone that I loved to kind of dream about trying to big goals and having putts to win the biggest events possible, and thinking I could be 12 years old and win the U.S. Amateur. I was always dreaming way beyond what I was capable of. And but that's how I was. That's what inspired me. That's why I'd get out on the cold days for a little bit, like you in Wales, the Northwest. It's brutally, just kind of short days, dark, rainy, early, and so you'd get an hour after school of a little bit of light in the cold rain. And I just remember, chipping and putting, thinking I was, going to really be great. And so that was fun. I mean, that was really, but it was definitely the U.S. Junior, I think, qualified for when I was 13. And that really was kind of what began the dream of coming to here. So that was where I met Coach Holder for the first time. That put you on the radar, didn't it? Because you did I mean, as a 13-year-old, was it semis or you got to? No, I didn't. I qualified for match play. But at the time, that was the youngest to ever qualify for match play. And so by then I was very now on the map as far as, the national scene, and knew who all the best players in our country were, and was even starting to see international players like Christo Grayling and Aaron Badley, and so my dreams got bigger. When your eyes open, but you've also you're in the spotlight, and you probably around that tournament you got people coming up to you, congratulating, shaking your hand, saying well played, and who are these people, right? And then whoever's there with you, that's coach of wherever. Exactly. Oh, those guys are pretty good, right? Maybe I can go there one day. So I guess it kicks from there, and you're all full into, you get from that I guess you get invited then to a Western Am or whatever it is. From there now,
all of the big AGA tournaments, all the big independent tournaments. I think junior golf is much better now because there's more opportunity for everyone. When I was playing, it was basically like being on the PGA Tour. I mean, there was and the amount of resources that took for a family to be able to make that happen, I think left some people out of it for sure. So I do think it's really nice how you have so many more opportunities locally where you can drive and get to, and these events they mean something, and they get on these national scoreboards, and you can kind of coaches can find out about them. So when I was playing, you'd go from one independent national event to then maybe a AJGA and then another. I mean, it was you saw the same people, and it was like you kind of were all traveling around. So it was a lot of fun. It really was, and I got to start doing that at a pretty young age, and then, but I always tell people, you don't set out to play pro golf or set out to play at Oklahoma State. It's just kind of one thing leads to another and leads to another, and before long, the opportunity happens.
How was that process from getting to Oklahoma State then? Because when you're in that area, you're growing up in Northwest, and you've got schools coming to you saying, come to Florida, come to California, come to Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Right? So what was that process like?
Well, so I was, the next year when I was 14, I had a really good summer when I was 13, and now 14 was probably my first dealing with expectations, and no one expecting anything other than just me now having unrealistic expectations. And I didn't play very good as a 14-year-old, and to my standard, at least what I thought I should. And you started learning about these players that, were doing well on the junior scene. Ty Tryon was one of them. People might remember that name. And gosh, he had such a beautiful golf swing. And you started noticing some of these really good-looking golf swings. They were coming out of the Ledbetter Junior Academy at the time. And I begged my parents at the end of that summer to let me go to the IMG Academy, and the Ledbetter Junior Academy was there. I mean, I begged them, and they said yes. And without seeing the place, there was no time to get anything set up. Just went down, got me checked into school. I lived there for a semester by myself. Said, "Do you like it?" "I love it." Okay, got a condo down there. My mom was with me full time, and my dad was with me most of the time. And so for that experience, for some people, I don't think has been great, and then for others, it's been okay. And for us, though, it was a really positive experience. My family was there, so I wasn't missing out on that. And then, man, just getting out of the cold Northwest and long sunny days, and I was really into it. I mean, I had a love for golf that maybe was maybe somewhat unnormal even at that age, and it was okay that. I think some people got burnt out in that setting. I just loved it. I mean, I ate it up and couldn't wait for the next day. So that really helped. I mean, that was helped me get better. It'd been interesting. You never know, like, how good would I have got if I'd have just stayed in my hometown and kept playing basketball and kept playing golf, and to what level, I don't know. You never know. But I do know it was a great experience, and thankful for it.
Well, and you're in the place where all the coaches are going to, right? That's the main thing is that they know that it's reliable to go to Ledbetter Academy and find kids who are at a young age who are solely focused on playing golf.
Yep, exactly. It was really kind of an interesting place because it was it was almost experimental in a sense, you might say. It was just it's kind of
not what it is today.
Yeah, does this concept work? And so I don't think a lot of the best players are coming out of those type of settings anymore. I don't think you have to do that. And but there for a little while, I mean, the top players in our country, a lot of them were kind of finding their way to that place. Didn't necessarily always translate further on down, but those junior years,
What was your first trip, I guess, up to Stillwater like? I guess you were coming from Florida at that point.
I was coming from Florida. I was actually verbally committed to Georgia Tech, and
do you have friends that went to Georgia Tech? Is that where you wanted to go?
What happened was I then really got it going again when I was 16 and had a really good summer, and won several times in some big events, the Western Junior and Oregon State amateur. And so it's really, and again, people were starting to almost like turn pro at a young age. It was just weird stuff was going on.
Yeah.
And my dad wanted me to have more of kind of like a long term, like don't be in a hurry. And so we actually started looking at some schools. We went to University of Florida because we were living down there. We went to Georgia Tech. And we kind of thought Georgia Tech seemed like a great spot. And I was 16, probably too young to make a verbal commitment, but I did. Although that's, almost late in the game now, but at that time that was on the young side. But about a year, maybe not even a full year of living with that commitment, I just realized, man, I never saw the place that was my inspiration, that I really was dreaming about going to, which was here. Told my dad that. He's like, oh gosh, I messed up. I intervened too quick. So we got in a car and we drove here, and I mean, this place is amazing. I mean, just from the walk through the front door. I probably even began at the gate though. Just this, you see places like that, the honors course in Chattanooga, Tennessee. There's some of these most special places you don't even know they're there. There's no real signage for it or anything. And this long drive in here and then walking through into the clubhouse, and it was kind of a cool fall day, and it was amazing. So just seeing this facility, walking down the halls like you mentioned, and the golf course practice facilities, I was sold.
Yeah, I mean and I tell people this, I told them this on the podcast before because we've talked about it before. But when you walk up here and you walk in the door, you're like, like it's hard to say no. Yeah, right? Really, you take one walk down that corridor. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's special.
Yeah. There's without like not trying to come across in because I know there's golf is important a lot of places, but there's I can really feel like confidently say I don't think there's another school that cares about it like we do here. Right. It just is. It is such a priority for us, and really, the facilities were amazing, but Mike Holder was the reason. That was the reason I wanted to come play here. So the facility added to it, but I was inspired by that guy. That was, he inspired me. And that was who I wanted to come play for. So, it's interesting now because this whole, I think everyone thinks it's about facilities, and that's what everyone's kind of doing. Right. I think Ole Miss, I heard, had put in a par 3 course that's lit and has Bluetooth, and and that's great. That's awesome. I think we're selling something different here, even though our facilities are amazing. And so you hope you get really, really talented players. That's what you ultimately need, is really, really talented players. But hopefully what we're selling is inspiring to them, and it's not just about private jets and par 3 courses that have Bluetooth and lights. It's we're doing it for something different.
Yeah, it's not the Anthony Kim version of golf. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Plenty of people will know that little slight nudge.
Yep.
But no, you're right. Like, because I wasn't when I came up here, I was surprised at how simple it is. Yeah. Right. Because it's just golf. Yep. Right. It's not, like you said, it's not like all that other stuff that takes you away. It makes you, like, okay, you might look good. Right. Right. Like if you've seen plenty of YouTube videos of I think it's Iowa State's practice facility and ASU's, and they look magical, and I'm sure they're great teams, but at the same time, records are fact and truth, and if you go into a place that's won a bunch of times, or has produced the most players, that's probably where you should go, rather than playing music or whatever decibel you want to play it at. You solely focus on golf. So that's definitely comes across when you step in the door up here. Who was a part of your freshman class when you got here?
Awesome freshman class. It was just me, and one of the most fascinating people you'll ever meet is Pablo Martin Benavides. Okay. So, and he and Reese, actually, we were talking about Reese Davies earlier. They played in the finals against each other at the British Boys. And Reese beat him. Reese beat him that year. So Pablo had won, I think, a couple years prior, but that time when they were 17, 18, Reese beat him. So Royal County down. But anyways, it was just the two of us, and as freshmen, and he didn't speak hardly any English. Just a happy-go-lucky, goofy guy, as talented of a person in golf as you'll ever be around. So he could do things with the golf club that were special, and so that was just really fun to get to. We were roommates, completely different walks of life, looked at life completely different, but became great friends, which is really neat. Still, he sent me WhatsApp videos and messages.
Is he still playing European Tour?
He's not.
No?
He's not playing the European Tour.
He was though, right? He did go back and play.
Yeah. He won once. He won as an amateur in college. So the first time to ever win a European Tour event as an amateur was Pablo Martin. He won the Portuguese Open, and then he won the can't remember what they call that, but. I think it's like the Dunhill, but the one in South Africa.
Yeah.
The Dunhill.
Still the Dunhill, yeah.
Still the Dunhill.
Yeah.
He won that twice. And,
nice.
the kind of guy he was is the second time he won it, he was in the finals of Q School over here in the States and playing horrible. And finally it was like, I've played 4 rounds and just withdrew.
Yeah.
And gets on a plane, flies to South Africa, and then wins. And so that's how good he was. He could just he could go from looks like he's can't even get his
right
Corn Ferry card but then just goes and wins out there.
Yeah.
But boy, I'll tell you what, if you ever get him on a podcast, that'd be interesting, and just his story to hear, because he had a really has had a really rough go with his family dynamics.
Okay.
And it would be a podcast that would be,
we should interview him together, because you know a lot about the backstory.
We should. So hopefully he was here this last spring, and he's going to be trying to get back over here again this spring.
Okay. We could time that up.
It would be the best podcast I think you ever did.
Yeah, that would be awesome to get that and get the backstory, and also have kind of the dynamic of you two and your stories there as well. I'd just sit back and listen. That'd be awesome. But listening to your story and doing a bit of research, you had some trouble. Was it freshman year? You'd been lifting, right, and pulled a muscle in your back. Back issues.
Yeah, I was really into working out, and I didn't hurt it working out, but I think what I understand about the body now is, I was developing a body that then when I was going to swing a golf club, I didn't have the, kind of the right mobility and stability and strength in the proper places. It was helping me get better at Olympic lifts and those type of things. But so anyways, I got hurt coming in here, and you talk about how different Pablo and I were. He almost was player of the year that year. I think Ryan Moore just barely nudged him out. So first team All-American, freshman of the year, and my game tanked. It started shooting kind of high 70s, and next thing you know, low 80s, and then high 80s, low 90s, and I shot 54, I think, on the front 9 once, and Coach Holder was like, I think it'd be good if you just go practice. Just called the mercy rule on me, and so it was tough. But 2 stories about how hard it was, but then one story about how hard, but one about how great Coach Holder was. First one was we got done playing, and there used to be not nice steps coming up 18. There was kind of boulders that you would scale up to get kind of up the hill, and we got done, and not a lot of us played that good, but some of us played really bad. And he said, you guys just don't appreciate the value of a stroke. And you don't appreciate the fact that these aren't just your strokes. These strokes, there's a lot of people that care about these strokes. And so you're going to learn a little something about accountability today. For every shot you shot over par, you're going to walk up and down this hill, up these boulders with your bag over your head. And I was shooting in the 90s at that time, so just up and down, up and down, up and down. But I can tell you, I don't remember I wasn't cussing and saying, I want to transfer, while I was doing that. It was this is ridiculous. I came here to try to help us win a national championship and play for this man that I just have so much respect for. But then also, during that time when I was really struggling, he came out and just kind of watched me play a few holes, just almost kind of caddied for me. It was kind of, I teed off late in the day and he caught up with me, and I'm shooting so poorly at this point, and he goes, Jonathan, I think you could still be one of the best players we ever have at Oklahoma State. And so it was just, it was a lot of great lessons. I felt like it just loved being here because there was accountability. There was a standard of excellence that you were trying to, you're striving and trying to be the best you could be.
Yeah, and I think McGraw on the podcast you guys called it the greatest comeback in college golf. I think those were his words.
Yeah.
But what I took away from that is that you guys had coffee every Thursday.
Yep.
Regardless of just I don't care about golf. Let's talk about life.
Yeah.
Which is back to what you said earlier. It's about humans, not just golf.
That's exactly right. I mean that thankfully this community of Stillwater. I think we've had some interesting situations happen here recently on the women's team with some players that have left, and I think the big thing some of these young people are missing right now is not actually getting involved in this community.
Right.
And with COVID, you can take every class online. So both of these players were that's all they were doing. They were taking online classes only. But man, when you get a chance to get out into this community and just be a part of kind of the college life and then meet these people that they're kind of here because they're trying to come alongside young people in college as well and make a difference in their life, it's a special place. And so that happened for me when I was in college. And I tell people all the time, my golf game had never been better, never been worse, but my life had never been better. So really thankful for that lesson.
No, I totally agree with you, because I watched I interviewed Issa end of last year. And then watched her recent video that she posted, and I was shocked to say that she's entering the portal there, and then watched the video and was like, it's not about golf, I'm just not kind of happy outside of golf. And you're right, like I can't imagine like classes online and you're isolated and you're just kind of, it's not easy to play golf at this level.
Right.
You got a lot of pressure on you.
Right.
It's extremely competitive to make that top five, even if you are one of the best players on the team.
Right.
And then you've got external pressure because you're from out of state, you're from out of country. You've got country obligations to go play and travel and all this stuff going on. And you just kind of think, I just want to take a step back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I watched the video and I have a lot of respect for that, because it takes a lot to just say I'm not doing okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be on this planet for a little longer than the next whatever for many years, right? And taking some time away is going to be better in the long run.
Right.
So, as bad as it seems for, the program maybe, or just initially when you think, why is she leaving? Especially when it's a female, right? You think, well, what's gone on?
Right.
Initially, like your snap thought is, sadly, well, what's happened? There's something's going on at Oklahoma State. But I'm glad she put that video out, because it cleared up a lot of stuff. And I sent it to a few buddies and just said, because they were asking me, they knew I'd interviewed her and was kind of wanted to know what the story was. And I said, well, it can't be easy, right? I played D2 golf and it was okay, but there are times where you're just like, I missed home. I didn't want to, it's hard to replicate that. But no, it comes back to being involved, getting in the community, and the beauty of this town is that they are going to rally around you, regardless if you're a golfer, if you play football, if you're a cheerleader, it doesn't matter. If you're an Oklahoma State student, that means something to this town, doesn't it?
Does.
And I tell a funny story that I brought my father-in-law's a KU fan, brought him to the KU OSU football game, and he's 6'5", big Native American guy, walking around Stillwater on game day, and 3 people came up to him and said, "Welcome to Stillwater." And I was like, this is not how this is supposed to go. People are supposed to be giving you shit, for being not from being an Oklahoma fan. I was just like, and it'd be, that was kind of really funny and kind of a testament to how cool this town is.
This podcast was presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who've been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.